Yes, we did.
I have a bunch of the gathers that Kevin gave me. I said, why don't I give them to you?
You can,
Because it has all
but
kinds
Mary gets together, Carol
of...
gets together.
Well, there's some
so-
old study guides. The only
Right.
problem was there wasn't a complete one. It was like part 2 and 3. Or...
Well, we're only going to get through 2 sessions, I think, before we suspend for the summer.
Okay.
So, do you have an opening
Maybe
prayer
I do.
for us? Okay.
We give thanks to you, God, for animals that live in our homes, on farms, in the wild, and in havens of refuge. Make us ever aware of our responsibility to these, your creatures. Help us to be faithful in caring for them through the one in whom all creation is made, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
And I think we're starting for the fun of it. No, I'm sorry, I skipped one, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're at pairs of every creature. And we're starting with Genesis chapter 7, verse 1 to 116, if somebody is willing to read.
Cares of every creature, the Genesis 7, 1
Yes.
through 17,
16.
16.
Right.
The Lord then said to Noah, go into the ark and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now, I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean animals and unclean animals, of birds and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, as God had commanded, as commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the floodwaters came on the earth. And in the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wives and their wives of their 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, and all livestock according to their kind. Every creature there moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind. Everything with wings, pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them, came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female, of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in.
I think maybe we ought to read 17 also, because it kind of sums it up.
Sure. For 40 days, the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. Want me to keep reading?
No, I think we're fine. Okay, according to this author, she says, when our daughter was born, someone gave us a Noah's Ark, carved and painted by artisans from Guatemala to hang in her nursery. It was a bit horrifying to realize that Noah's Ark, often seen as a story for children, was appropriate for a baby's room, which deals with global destruction and death of nearly every being on the planet. Yet we put the ark up anyway, not just out of obligation, but because the painted animals were so cute. The story of the ark, however, makes it clear that Noah's packing manifest includes not only the cute, but the clean or the seemingly most unuseful animals, like snakes, but the pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them. The ark is a zoological archive. When the rains came, God saves not just these particular pairs of animals, but the futures of animals, reminding us that every creature has value, regardless of their use, benefit, or cuteness factor for us humans. We need this lesson. It is the reason the Wildlife Federation logo features a panda rather than a peacock or a tarantula or an Egyptian vulture. While all these animals are endangered, most of us only consider the panda cute or cuddly. Noah's animal list reminds us that our call to care for and conserve creatures extends to all animals, not just the ones we like. Sometimes the church is depicted as an ark, a community of refuge and sanctuary that carries God's people through life's storms and floods. An ark is a vessel of saving hope. Can we remember to include in our church's native care all creatures that have the breath of life in them? They are also our kin. They are also beloved by God. And then the question is, does your church feel like an ark? Do you feel that it is? I feel
I
like
do, because I feel welcome and I feel safe, and it's like my church family.
it's a safe place.
Yeah. I mean, I live 25 to 30 minutes away, and people say, why don't you go to a closer church? I said, but this is my church.
Yeah.
Well, my experience has been, that we're tolerant. We're not, now the children do leave during sermon and things like that, but, it can be a noisy place sometime, and that's okay. If people aren't shushed or told to leave or whatever. We all pretty much do look alike, there's not that diversity of creature in the building at the same time, but
everybody seems to be welcomed.
That's what I was just going to say.
and they all have different reasons for being there, so they're welcome, regardless of their.
I think once again, it's shown, and we've mentioned this before, I mentioned this before, it's a place where we also come after disaster, after Sandy, after 9/11. The church was open, and people came and just sat, prayed, and then left. No particular service, but it was open and welcome and a place where we felt comfortable.
I also feel that I get recharged in church to go out and fight the storm outside of these walls.
Good.
And, spiritually, mentally, not so much physically. I used to work out before I came to church. I haven't done that recently, so then I felt like I was totally recharged. Like the whole thing. But, I feel it that way, but I just want to make sure that I don't forget that Christ always said, go out there into that storm. That's where your mission is. That's as a disciple of Christ, you have to go out into that storm. You can do worship, and that's very important, and it's a recharging thing to go out there past those walls and do some good in the world. And I also like the fact that I never thought of the church as an ark, so it's kind of an interesting metaphor. Yeah, because we have people here that we may not really, I shouldn't say, we're supposed to love everybody, but sometimes some people are annoying or whatever, and not everybody is my favorite, and I should think about them as being all of the creatures of God are loved by God and should be loved by me. And I remember Pastor Chuck used to always say, see Christ in the other person, and it'll change your outlook. And that's what I have to kind of do, and that's what I see is that metaphor here. It's kind of neat.
Well, I also think we need to think about whether we're welcoming for people who are not like we are.
Yeah.
And I think Pastor Kevin, certainly with his Happy Sunday, is giving us a welcoming presence.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why some people are coming to this church now, because he's so open. It's almost infectious when you walk into the room with him, because he's so happy.
Well, as one who still worships at home, I still feel it through the service that comes. So, I think we're also saying, we're answering the second question, was it like to share the space on the boat or the ark with other people who are like you and unlike you? I think we've kind of handled that. So if we want to move on with Noah's legacy, Diane, do you want to read?
Sure. This ancient story of an ark also ensures that we do not forget that we humans have the capacity for both deep faithfulness and wild wickedness. Today, we need only check out the latest news or breathe in the air to know that human choices are bringing destruction to the lives of other creatures that breathe. But that's only part of the story. Across the globe, humans, like modern-day Noahs, are creatively building communities, technologies, policies, and spiritual practices to address climate change, advocate for justice, and provide care for people, creatures, and landscapes. Maybe Noah's Ark does belong on our nursery walls after all. We're letting them know the truth of our broken humanity while teaching them about our vocation to care for all creation. With our young ones, we can faithfully work with God to ensure that never again will this planet be destroyed.
I think the question then is, who are some of the Noahs in our community who help us sustain creatures in the planet? And what are they doing? Certainly the water bottles right
That's
here are a
just
perfect
what I
example
thought. Yeah.
of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Other examples people have? I think the food cupboard is
I was gonna say,
certainly are.
yeah, when I read it this morning, I was thinking the food cupboard in the clothes closet
Sure.
because people don't have any.
Basic
Come in and
necessity, food,
Past
shelter,
couple
and
months
clothing.
are, especially in November, there were some older couples coming in and say that I've never done this before, but
Right.
with the cost of food, I've gotta come in and.
That's mine, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're there.
That's a
Even
nice,
talking
Nobody
about
ever calls me on my phone.
that's a nice ring.
Yes, it is. Habitat for Humanity, providing housing for people. What's the organization down in
branches.
Branches, providing a hot meal for people in
Family
need.
Promise
Family
also.
Crumbs, that's the
Family
place I was
Promise.
trying to think of. Providing a place for their kids to be so that they can go out and look for jobs or to train them for. Right? And our church has been involved in all these.
I think the Tabernacle also providing, is that what you're talking about? Providing the after-school.
After school program, yeah.
So that parents can work. I think there are signs that the pregnancy center certainly provides services. I think there are people in our community who are helpful and provide parks for people.
And not just people, but animals.
Animals,
We've got
exactly.
the Humane Society, Upper Township has theirs, Atlantic City has theirs. And I know I was very pleased to be part of the Humane Society that was operating in Nebraska when I was there. I mean, it's amazing how people can just throw away an animal. And at least if they were bringing them in and turning them in, that was much better. But we had cages outside, so if somebody wanted to come after dark and not be known, the only problem there is you had no information about the animal other than what you could see. But at least it was not just, taking them out to a rural road, which there were plenty of rural roads out there that poor thing was just on its own.
Well, I think we also have examples of the protected species around here with the plovers and, I know my granddaughter, when she was 4, at one point got chased by a lady because she was chasing a plover. And she was told she could be arrested. She was 4. So we were a little upset about it, but it's true,
You can't do that.
Yes, you don't do that. And
Well-
we should have been teaching her that.
No, I was thinking that the ark is only talking about creatures, not plants or
That's true.
other kinds of, well, fish even, but fish, I guess, were okay because the whole world was
Nice.
water. But, and I don't know what happened, if the planet was covered, what happened to all the flora? What happened to all the green stuff? I don't know. But, I do know that we do a lot with environmental stuff. I don't know so much in Ocean City, other than there's an environmental club in the high school that my son was involved with, and they planted stuff on the beach. There's the kids did that, and then there's the green team where I live in Upper Township that do they promote environmentally sustainable activities. They can give you a rain barrel, things like that, city water, which I guess kind of helps with creatures too. It's kind of interesting. It's very clear in the Bible they don't talk about plants.
I think we agreed a couple sessions ago that these are stories that somebody has told, and maybe not all of the story is being told in what we're reading.
Okay.
So that was kind of the interpretation that we came up with, that this is somebody's story of what they have been told or what they remembered or what they experienced maybe.
Or the parts that people like to retell.
Exactly.
Well, that's true.
But it's a very good question as to what happened. One of those things we need to think about. Have we exhausted this? Shall we move on?
This one I had never heard about.
I never did either. It
So
was
we've learned something
totally
in
new
the
to me.
Bible.
So, Mary, do you have Kings 17, 1 to 6? For Glenn, you need to read it.
Mary, read. I've been talking. If she doesn't mind.
It's Kings
17.
17, 1 through 6.
Oh, you were so close. You caught it.
Now Elijah the Tishbite of Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, "As the Lord the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall be neither dew nor rain these years except by my word." The word of the Lord came to him, saying, "Go from here and turn eastward, and hide yourself by the Wadi Cherith, which is east of the Jordan. You shall drink from the wadi, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there." So he went and did according to the word of the Lord. He went and lived by the Wadi Cherith, which is east of the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the wadi. Where are we getting bread?
All good questions.
Yeah,
It's a story, Mary.
good story, but it doesn't all compute.
Well, maybe there was manna out there somewhere.
Glenn, do you want to read from the guide here of what happens after, well, maybe some of it will please explain.
Yeah. Want me to read the whole thing?
Yeah, just start.
I'll just keep going. Ravens, crows, and other corvid birds are among the smartest animals on the planet, with an intelligence that ranks among dolphins and gorillas. They're able to solve complicated puzzles, communicate using a language with grammar, wield tools, and enjoy complex social relationships. Not only are they known to recognize the faces of those humans who have harmed them, but they may even pass this knowledge between the generations. Corvids appear in legends and mythologies around the world. They represent tricksters and ill omens, as well as divine creators and bearers of life. A raven is the first bird Noah sends to search for dry land after the flood. That raven scout comes back empty-handed, or empty-beaked.
Glenn, you stop just a minute?
Yeah.
Am I the only one that never heard corvids?
I don't
Is that a
even-
word
I'm
that you-
looking it up right
Oh,
now.
look at her.
I'm looking it
I
up
never
right
heard that
now.
word before.
It's a cosmopolitan family of passerine birds: crows, ravens, rooks, magpies, jackdaws, jays, nutcrackers. In colonial English, they're known as the crow family or corvids.
So what differentiates them from any other
Well, it's the genus contains 47 species and makes up over a third of the entire family. And I'm trying to see here about it's telling me, let's see, relationship with humans, disease or behavior, which one? Because it doesn't explain to me why they're.
I mean, other than coloring inside, they don't look that much different than some
It
of the
is
other birds.
illegal to own corvids or any other migratory bird without a permit. They have been able to coexist with members throughout history. Folklore. They have a carrion diet. I'm looking for something about bread.
But it's interesting that they can recognize humans who have harmed them.
Cornish superstition holds that when a lone magpie is encountered, it must be loudly greeted with respect.
Wow.
So, Germanic peoples highly revered him. The ravens. I don't know.
No, Poe wrote about ravens.
That's what I'm
right?
gonna say.
The
The
raven
raven
nevermore.
And the magpies ate the pie of.
420 black.
Well, the other question that I have
Are they
here,
corvids? I don't know.
Didn't say blackbird.
I don't remember a raven being sent out from Noah's Ark. I always thought it was a
A
dove.
dove.
Well, that was the
Well,
one that found
The one that came back,
with
was
the
something.
olive branch.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
I knew there was another bird that went out first.
So the raven must have been
But
the
it was a
one
raven, huh?
who came back empty.
Yeah, there was more than.
That's why the dove is always depicted with the olive branch
Right.
in their beak
Exactly.
as a sign of peace. I'm not sure why.
And then it's just showing lots of pictures of different
Right.
species. But it doesn't say why they're.
Well, it's an interesting word to add to your vocabulary.
Okay.
Yeah, play Scrabble.
We can
You've got
talk about
corvid.
the corvids. All right, Glenn, do you want to continue then?
Okay. Under Levitical law, people are prohibited from eating the unclean birds, which includes ravens, as addressed in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. So it's both surprising and not that intelligent, but unclean ravens come to Elijah's aid after humans have failed him. After Elijah goes toe-to-toe with King Ahab, calling out the wickedness and faithlessness which provoked God's anger and brought drought to the land, God sends Elijah into hiding at a seasonal stream called a wadi. A wadi is a brook during the rainy season and only a cracked riverbed during the dry season. It's also where, through these brilliant, dirty birds, God sustains and cares for Elijah. Jenny Odell, author of How to Do Nothing, Resisting the Attention Economy, writes about her interactions with corvids during a time of cultural and personal upheaval when she befriended two crows outside of her San Francisco apartment. Their interactions with her moved her from digital despair and disconnection to groundedness. She writes, and I quote, "This is real. I'm real too. I'm not an avatar, a set of preferences, or a smooth cognitive force. I'm lumpy and porous. I'm an animal. I hurt sometimes, and I'm different one day to the next. I hear, see, smell things in a world where others also hear, see, and smell me. A break to remember that, a break to do nothing, to just listen, to remember in the deepest sense what, when, and where we are."
Diane, do you want to pick up that?
Sure. In this way, the raven pulls Odell into reality, into her animal self. These are the birds who fed Elijah, tending to his bodily needs with their own feathered, cawing bodies. Even Elijah, who's a major prophet, a sort of superhero of spirituality, if you will, is also an animal, needing to eat food and drink water. We too are animals, with animal needs and here and now bodies. We face our own weary moments, battles, or droughts. Elijah and the ravens invite us to stop and take care of our bodies, to eat and to drink. We can listen to and watch birds, remembering that we are humans and animals. God will sustain us, sometimes through the most surprising caregivers and waits.
I wonder whether we put seagulls into that same
I was thinking of seagull.
category.
That's interesting.
I
Yeah, 'cause
found
they're pretty dirty. What'd you find?
in Genesis chapter 8, verse 7. Oh, well, I'll start with 6. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove. So
Okay.
there is a raven.
Wow.
I just forgotten about the raven.
Huh.
Well, I don't think that any of us are worried about eating or drinking. We seem to be doing just fine. But there are certainly many people in the world who are suffering, who don't have the opportunity to think about themselves, perhaps, or sit and reflect as this lady did.
I got a little 7-day devotional guide for Bread for the World, and you know it mentions many different scenarios where people don't have enough, but I think I'm remembering correctly, said 1 in 7 children in the United States are hungry, and that's a lot.
It is a lot.
And that's why the food cupboard, all of the food cupboards around are so really so important. It's necessary. It's a basic need for
It's
people.
not only necessary, but it's important that people know they're there and use them. Many times people are too proud to use them, and that's unfortunate.
But I think the people who come here in Ocean City are treated with respect and dignity. I mean, I have never been a delivery person, but I know that there are deliveries being
Yes.
made. So it's not like you have to be able to get there and carry the bags yourself. And, you know, we're very considerate of people's circumstances.
I guess I never really thought about myself in relation to birds. That's right.
But you
It
know what
seems
I did?
to be a little.
More to animals.
But Barb's story that
Yes.
she told last week
Yes. Right.
about this dove that she just
Right.
poured her heart out to when she was in a very low place, and how the bird just stayed and like listened.
Well, I think we relate to animals. For some reason, to me, not as much birds as with animals. And maybe that's because of my own experience. I've not had that like Barbara, which is one of those things. So the question is, what connects you to your animalness? Or can you pull out of your body a relationship, a connection with others' beings' bodies? In some ways in which you could live more aware that God has made beautiful animal body of yours.
That's a strange question.
It is.
Well,
I think that's why none of us have any answers.
you know, as when I go for a walk on the beach, I don't know what it is about my pace or what I'm wearing. I have no idea. But there are some birds, little ones, big ones, whatever, that don't necessarily run away when I walk by. And that makes me feel good. You know, I'm sharing this space with you. This is the only space you have. I can go inside.
They don't
I can go
perceive
somewhere else.
you as a threat.
And it's just like walking along with nature. And it's a wonderful feeling when that happens. Now, you know, some of the more skittier birds, the ones with the long yellow beaks, the skimmers, you're not going to get close to a skimmer. But the gulls and even the little sandpipers, I don't think there are plovers on the beach where I walk because they have a protected area. But it just makes me feel good to walk among them and not, you know, you can, like you say, approach a dog and the dog wags its tail and you kind of expect that. But the wild things are a little different. That kind of connects me, I think.
I guess I take it all in. The beach is my place of solitude. The water, the sound of the water, just walking on the beach in the sand. It just, I guess the birds are there and you hear them. I'm always humming hymns when I walk on the beach, so.
It's a good place.
It is.
Oh, that's nice.
But even, you know, if I find a horseshoe crab that's still alive, pick it up carefully, not by the tail, and put it back in the water, or sometimes even it's just a hermit crab in a snail shell. Plunk it back in and say, you know, live long. That's my connection. But I don't see myself
I'm
with
still
an
stuck on this question. Like,
animal spirit or
yeah, that's
anything.
what I'm thinking. Like on the animal side, I mean, that usually means that irrational.
It does.
That's what I think. So
I agree.
Irrational?
yeah, animals.
Well,
That's what differentiates us.
the
from-
lion comes out, you know, your bad side comes out.
Yeah.
The word animal.
Animalistic. You know, these words mean irrational.
I don't see animalistic
Well-
being. That's okay.
No, I can understand your point of view about nature and communing with nature. I'm just saying that from a grammar word,
I'm not
Lectionary
sure that is a
point of
grammar word.
yeah,
I'm not sure that is a word to begin with, so.
animalness.
Animalness.
I mean, what the thing that comes to my mind is that God came down and became an animal. You know, this took
As
on
human.
this human form. This is what strikes me as being, that mystery and the beautifulness. I mean, that's what grace is all about. That He came down for us through nothing we did. We didn't deserve it, and took on human form and all. Along with all of the trials and tribulations that go along with being an animal on the earth, and experienced all that. And that to me is what I take from that question. I didn't take it from the scriptures so much, but from
I
that
think
question.
you have to divorce human and animal, and put them together. When I think of God coming down in Jesus' form, I think of him as human, not as an animal, which I know is the same. But
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying, like that
Right.
animal side
right,
that Diane doesn't get because she's just part of nature.
Well, I guess it's. I don't know. I think animals can live in community a lot easier than people can live in community.
Oh, okay. They could be,
animals in their own community can be very vicious as
they
well
could
as
be
people.
cruel, yeah.
So
To each
Yeah.
other.
They have a hierarchy.
yeah,
But that just makes us more animal too. We're saying, well, these animals have this hierarchy. Don't you think humans do? And
Oh, yes.
that makes
we
sense.
do certainly.
The doors.
She doesn't know.
I'll tell her. I'm the dissenter in the group, so I'll walk over here.
Okay. Hey, just before we go, I don't know if you want to go on, Elaine, or not, but I did notice one striking difference in the message to what you read. What version, what translation are you reading?
This is the MRSD.
Okay. So instead of the wadi, it says here the Kerith ravine. It just calls it a ravine, which I don't know whether Eugene Peterson, who wrote this translation, whether he did that because no one today would understand what a wadi is,
Possible.
or because the original is closer to something like a ravine. I don't know. But it harks back to our ravens in the ravine.
And I was thinking water bottles and
What?
dirty water.
Oh, yeah.
And, just a muddy pit.
Well, according to this,
It's a muddy pit.
this explains what a wadi is, which is interesting because it's like a tidal thing. And
Right,
when
it
it's
doesn't
rainy
have-
season, it's got like a little river, but in the dry season,
If it's cracked dirt, it's muddy water.
Right.
When there's water in it.
oh, that's true.
It's not got a nice rock bed or
Yeah, we could,
sand
we
or
could call
anything.
you some of those wine and water kids.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, well, let's move on for the fun of it.
Okay.
And we're at Psalm 104, which I have, so I
Okay.
will read, and I'm reading from the King James Version, so you'll get the old style.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And reading 104 verses 24 to 28. O Lord, how manifold are thy works! In wisdom thou hast made them all. The earth is full of thy riches. So is this great and wide sea, wherein all things are creeping innumerable, both small and great beasts. There go the ships. There is that leviation whom thou hast made pay thereon, which doesn't make sense at all. But maybe someone would like to read. I'm sorry, I go two more. These wait upon thee, and thou mayest give them their meat in due season. Thou that givest them that gather, they openest thy hand, and filled with good. Someone might want to read from a more modern version as to whether,
Well,
see whether it
I'll
was
tell you
just
what.
the difference.
I'll tell you what that line is in the Message. Ships plow those waters, and Leviathan, your pet dragon, romps in them.
Okay.
Which is
I
kind
didn't have a pet dragon, but okay.
of poetical. I don't know, but the
Off the
Leviathan
magic
is,
dragon.
you know, the whales and the sea creatures, yeah. But I don't understand that thing. But King James. You want me to keep going? No.
Well, I just like to hear somebody a different version. Mary, you have the Revised Standard. What does yours say?
Yeah.
It says starting at the beginning.
Yeah, 24 to 48.
Okay.
Sorry, 24 to 28. I'm sorry.
O Lord, how manifold are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Yonder is the sea, great and wide. Creeping things innumerable are there. Living things both small and great. There go the ships, and Leviathan that you have formed to sport in it. These all look to you to give them their food in due season. When you give it to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are filled with good things.
That's a more understandable translation as far as I'm concerned. Carol, yours is different also.
Yeah, mine has a few more words in it. You want me to read it?
Yeah, please.
How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Oh, we're supposed to start.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
There is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures beyond numbers, living things both large and small. There the ships go to and fro, and there's that word, Leviathan, which you formed to frolic there.
Frolic.
Yeah, all creatures look to you to give them their food at the proper time. When you give it to them, they gather it up. When you open your hand, they are satisfied with good things.
It's interesting to hear the different versions. They all, I think the newer versions certainly make more sense than what I read, as far as being understandable today. But according to this is a song about God's creation and God's delight in it. One of the pinnacles of creation is the Leviathan. How do you say it?
Leviathan.
Leviathan.
Yeah.
We don't know what sort of creature the psalmist described as Leviathan, only that it's large and powerful sea creature. Depending on the translation, God made this creature to frolic, to sport in it, or to play in it. It is unclear in the Hebrew text that the Leviathan was made to delight and play herself, or to bring delight to God, who may have made this animal simply for the fun of it. Either way, this whale, Loch Ness creature, octopus, or other seems to have one purpose: to play, frolic, and bring delight. And that must be your dragon. Is that what there's?
Yes.
In your version, it was
The pet dragon.
Pet dragon.
Yeah.
So it could be that this is just an idea that it's a powerful sea creature.
And there are giant octopus, so
Right.
there you go. You know, if you saw one of those, I think it would be just as memorable as a whale.
Yes.
You know.
When was the last time you frolicked? Well,
And is there video?
perhaps
That's so
frolic
good.
is again an old-fashioned word.
Really?
Well,
I'm just glad we didn't have cell phones when I was in high school. There's no evidence.
you never frolicked.
No, there's no evidence of whatever was going on back then.
I've worked in a long time.
I think we all do things that are time wasting. I like to do crossword puzzles. I like to do jigsaw puzzles. There's nothing more time wasting than a jigsaw puzzle, because you sit down, you think you're just going to put in one piece, and an hour and a half later, you get up. So, I mean, reading is
Good
another.
mental exercise.
Exactly. So, but, time wasting.
Well, it wasn't a waste of time because you enjoyed it. So it's what, I guess you can frolic anytime when you're doing something
That you enjoy.
when you have some free time from the other duties of life.
When there's something you don't want to do, so you do something else instead.
Your painting would be,
Yeah, that's what was the simple for pleasure of it. My painting.
well, there you go.
This last one we were doing, she was doing like painting, and then you were playing with your fingers and rubbing the paint in the
Finger painting.
canvas. So it's finger painting. But I did the background first, and she did the thing, and then did the background. So now I've got to figure out, okay, when I put the actual thing on, is it kind of?
What's it supposed to be in the end?
It's just flowers, but it's got a wild background. It's dark and light. And it's looks like kids finger painting
Right.
the background.
How long have you painted? Long time?
She does some beautiful things.
I started it during the pandemic.
Oh.
I do it online.
Oh. So you learned online watching a YouTube video?
Yeah, I mean, I've painted before, but she does these classes, and she does like 3 or 4 paintings a month. And because I'm a monthly member, I can go into her vault and go into all different kinds of things.
Wow.
Like I painted a picture for my son, and my daughter came and said, "Did you do that?" I said, "I want one." So now I said, "Well, do you want that or do you want the ocean?" I don't know. So I'm going to do both and see which one, or if she wants both of them.
Nice.
Wow. That's quite a talent.
When I think of frolicking, though, I think of little kids too, the way
I
they'll
think of
just play, run around,
running
Right.
around
like
and
behind the
true,
seat or
jumping in the
tag,
puddles.
whatever. Not, as they get older, it's competitive sport, but little kids just run around and have fun.
I think last time I taught preschool, so I played a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking of VBS. When I come to
Yeah.
VBS, and sometimes you can kind of get into that playing. There's no right way. There's no
Exactly.
one way. You're just out there doing your thing, And I think Julia's real good with that in VBS when she asks kids to do some motion that you like. She ties it in very well with. Well, you know how talented she is, but she's especially good with children, or she's also good with children, that they feel like this isn't a production where I have to stand in just the right spot. I can move, I can express myself, and I think that is great to see because it brings out that joy in them. I don't think you can really play something and not have some level of joy.
Well, I think you guys are onto something there, yeah. Because I think that's what this passage is about. It's the joy and just for the fun of it.
Right.
There's no structure, which I think we structure our kids' lives too much now to the point where they don't have any free time to call their own, but they can do whatever they want. And then we're training them to do that for the rest of their lives, but that's a whole other question for another time. But I think that really gets to the core of the meaning of this scripture, that this Leviathan was created just for as if God had a whim and said, let's make a Leviathan.
Why not?
Right. Just like, why not move that way just because I feel like it today? Maybe we should get into more frolicking.
You really should. That'd be good for our mental.
Well, and movement, they say the older you get, the more you move, the better you're going to feel. So, I mean, that must be some part of it too with your dancing.
Yeah. I mean, it's because our teacher has passed away. We've got other people coming in, and the hard part is calling out the steps. So you've got to kind of really concentrate even more now because they teach it, but then you've got to figure out it because they can't always call at the right time.
But
Or
you're in
find
the
it.
Yeah, so you have to do the same thing.
Yeah,
At that
and
time,
we're all doing the same
Right.
supposedly all doing the same
Yeah, but I think this is more unstructured.
Yeah, well, there's a person in our class who, she does her own thing.
There's always one.
She's a Leviathan.
Because at the end of the day, they did a dance that we learned way back, probably 10 years ago. And she didn't know it. So she was doing her own thing and she was all over the room. And I was sitting there watching because my knee was bothering me by then. And I was like, oh my goodness, look at her go.
Did you
But
say
that's
she was
it.
frolicking?
She was frolicking. Definitely frolicking.
I'm just thinking while you're talking, like a kid, you expect that of an adult. It's almost like you have to have the courage to do that because people say, what are you doing?
This person has courage to do that. She does her own thing.
Right.
Speaks her own mind, does her own thing. Sometimes she hurts people's feelings when she speaks her mind, but I don't think she needs to hurt people's feelings. She just
Very honest.
comes out with it and
Too honest.
Well, you know, there's that honesty where you're just expressing yourself and you don't stop and think about what's politically correct,
Yeah,
what
and
is
she doesn't.
everybody's experience in the room, and I think that's what you mean. She's not doing it to hurt
no, she's
anybody,
not
but
doing
this
it
is
for anybody.
me, you know, and I think that helps teach us tolerance sometimes.
Yes.
At least you know where she stands.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little less than 15 minutes.
You want to move on to Jonah and the whale?
Well, there's Jonah, the whale, the plant, the worm, and the wind. We can do that. And then we'll conclude with the peaceable kingdom next time.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, so we have to go to Jonah 1:17.
Where is John?
Well, I believe he's in the Old Testament.
Yeah, definitely. Isn't he in the end?
Well, I'm all the way back here, but
I thought he was. No, is it
It's toward the back.
That's what I thought.
After Joel.
It's
Say
between
it, Joel.
Obadiah and Micah.
Oh, I'll look at him. No, okay. I thought he was a little book. Here he is. Okay. Amos.
And verse 17.
and Micah's little.
Well, it's the last verse of the first chapter.
Oh, yeah, I've got 16, but I don't have 17. Oh, there it is. I see it now. It's the beginning of the next.
It's just one.
Yeah. Want me to read it?
Sure.
Yeah, if you've got it.
Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish.
3 days and 3
3
nights,
nights.
according to mine.
Yeah,
Other than
3
that,
days
it's
and
the
3
same.
nights from inside the fish. And it starts in 2. It says.
Yes.
2:10, verse 10.
Well, it's 117 through 210.
Okay, right. Go ahead.
So there you go.
Do you want me to do 10? 2:10?
No, it's
Just
one.
keep
Okay,
going.
keep
Keep
reading
going,
it
keep
till-
going.
From
Okay.
17 on.
Oh, I didn't read it right. All right. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord, his God, and he said, in his distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realms of the dead, I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the sea, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me, and I said, I have been banished from your sight. And yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing water threatened me. The deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you, Lord my God, brought my life out from the pit. And my life was ebbing away. I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you that I have vowed. I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord. And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah into the dry land.
That's an interesting answer to
Yes,
prayer.
it is.
This sounds better, it's spewed.
I have vomited too.
Yeah.
Do you have
Same
vomited?
thing.
I have vomited. They like that word.
They do. Okay, so we go on to chapter 4 then, 1 through 11. Anybody want to do that?
I'm not there yet, so.
Glenn, do you have that one?
I do. Oh, this is the whole chapter. It's a short chapter.
Right.
Jonah was furious. He lost his temper. He yelled at God. God, I knew it. When I was back home, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I ran off to Tarshish. I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, not easily angered, rich in love, and ready at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. So God, if you won't kill them, kill me. I'm better off dead. God said, what do you have to be angry about? But Jonah just left. He went out of the city to the east and sat down in a sulk. He put together a makeshift shelter of leafy branches and sat there in the shade to see what would happen to the city. God arranged for a broad-leafed tree to spring up. It grew over Jonah to cool him off and get him out of his angry sulk. Jonah was pleased and enjoyed the shade. Life was looking up. But then God sent a worm. By dawn of the next day, the worm had bored into the shade tree and it withered away. The sun came up, and God sent a hot, blistering wind from the east. The sun beat down on Jonah's head, and he started to faint. He prayed to die. I'm better off dead. Then God said to Jonah, what right do you have to get angry about this shade tree? Jonah said, plenty of right. It's made me angry enough to die. God said, what's this? How is it that you can change your feelings from pleasure to anger overnight about a mere shade tree that you did nothing to get? You neither planted nor watered it. It grew up one night and died the next night. So, why can't I likewise change what I feel about Nineveh from anger to pleasure? This big city of more than 120,000 childlike people who don't yet know right from wrong, to say nothing of all the innocent animals.
May I read something? This is from the Word in Season. I don't know when, but I tore it out. It's based on this Jonah reading. Jonah is not the hero of this particular story. He's the anti-hero. Written at a time of growing religious intolerance in Israel, the book bearing his name takes aim at the attitudes Jonah embodied. Sent by God to be a messenger of salvation to the hated people of Nineveh, Jonah first fled the other way, then walked only a third of the way into the city, and finally waited for God to destroy them all. Jonah complained out loud that God is gracious and merciful. In the end, Jonah wished he were dead rather than see Nineveh pardoned. The story closes with God gently prodding Jonah to reconsider his hardness of heart. Mercy, the book whispers, is not just a divine attribute, but that which God longs for all of us to embody. I think that's good because there's a lot of intolerance between religions, between countries. I mean, look what's going on in the world today. That's not what God made us for.
The president spoke just yesterday about intolerance in present times. Yes. What does God tell you about this God's ways in the world? God can get angry with us, I think.
God can change her
He
mind,
can change his mind, her mind.
and
He wants us to be merciful.
yeah, because Jonah's screaming at the beginning, you know, Lord,
Yeah.
Lord,
This
think about
translation
it.
is funny, isn't it?
Yeah. I know I should be going the other direction, but you know, I mean, he was given mercy. He was saved, and he couldn't turn around and extend that to a whole city of people that he didn't even really, they'd done nothing to him. I mean, it wasn't a vengeful thing.
No, but I find this story very human, or animalness. I see people, I could see someone today saying this, you know?
Sure.
And it's intolerant, you mentioned between religions. It's also within religions, just between denominations.
No, that's
Look what's going on in the Methodist Church right now. That's crazy.
what is.
What
Well,
is?
Oh, there's a rift just like there was in the Lutheran Church.
Oh, over ordination of.
Ordination and paid clergy, yes. And some have started their own church. They splintered off just like they did with ELCA. Same reason. So,
Well, the current Pope has taken a lot of flack for being
he has.
very tolerant and merciful and accepting, and there's many.
I think this story also shows us that sometimes we pray and God answers our prayers the way we want to, and then we turn our backs. I mean, Jonah prayed to be out of the belly of the whale, and he was, and then once he got out, he really was not that gracious.
No.
So, you know, we sometimes get what we want and then turn our backs on God. Those who have
Or
helped us.
if we come through something and maybe somebody else hasn't, we don't extend the mercy to them
Exactly.
to be God's work our hands, to be that merciful safety net for them that, however, we were saved.
Judgy.
Yeah, and I think that is too bad, not the way it should be, for sure.
I like that meditation I never read because
Right,
it was good. But the one thing that struck me was it's intolerant. And it goes back to the first Genesis reading today about how even creatures we don't really like that much. Right? Having mercy and forgiveness for them.
We had a whole discussion about this last week. About creatures that we don't like,
Oh,
and I'm still on the fence.
I'm coming in late, sorry.
Yeah.
I wasn't here either, so.
Well, it started with the creation story.
Yes, it did.
Oh, the snakes.
Mentioned the reptiles, yes.
I see when I'm looking at the clock that it is 1 o'clock. Shall we stop here at this point, Diane?
Sure.
Even though we haven't read that, and we'll end with the closing prayer
Okay.
that's on this sheet. Dear Father, as you pray, include the joys of sorrows of those gathered for this study. Give thanks to God for the animals and creatures that bless your name. Name aloud pets you love or creatures that you see in your yard. Remember not only the creatures that have taught and blessed you, but also remember those snakes and spiders, anyone, that scare or bewilder you. And if you are so moved, call them your siblings, your brothers, your sisters, your brothers, your kin. Amen. And does that speak personally?
They're trying to have some influence there.
I try.
Thank
I
you.
will try.
Thank you both.